MKO, Kidibe, SDP, Progress. Abiola Nadiho.
Saturday, June 12, 1993, history was made in Nigeria. A day religion and ethnicity were relegated to the back seat as Nigerians trooped to polling booths to elect their president. The Muslim ticket of Moshood Abiola and Baba Gana Kingibe notwithstanding, Nigerians spoke with one voice. Nigeria's business mogul and a friend of the masses was coming to set the country on a good footing after more than 20 years of military rule. Excitement filled the air. Hope was in sight, but the joy was short-lived. On the 23rd of June 1993, the military regime of Ibrahim Babangida put paid to the yearnings of the people to have a president of their choice. It annulled the election. The word annulment crept into Nigeria's political lexicon for the first time. Then, all hell was let loose.
General Babangida has not been able to justify the criminal annulment of the election. All he has been doing since then is to prevaricate, and then dance around the issue. But history has taken care of the disaster. He attempted to to run for the presidency of the country, but because of that annulment, he had to give it up.
In the midst of citizens' agitations, Moshood Abiola decided to stand up to the military. Ekpetedo, an unassuming locality on Lagos Island, was his choice place to reclaim his mandate. Ekpetedo was historic in its own rights. It was home to some of the followers of the deposed and banished Oba Kosoko of Lagos in the late 1880s. The British colonialists deposed Kosoko for refusing to enter Atlantic slave trade. This perhaps motivated Moshood Abiola to opt for Ekpetedo and made the historic "Enough is Enough" declaration 1 year after the election. In the historic speech, Moshood Abiola declared himself winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election to the admiration of many citizens. He described the annulment as an abominable act of naked political armed robbery. Moshood Abiola carpeted the military for staying put to power for the better part of the country's years of post-independence. He energized the citizens to stand up for their mandate and keep hope of a better nation alive. But the military junta was not going to stand by in the face of such an aggravating action. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana was one of those in the forefront of the actualization of the June 12 mandate. It tells me the significance of Moshood Abiola's historic speech and the aftermath of his declaration.
The essence of that declaration was that Abiola was saying that we are not a conquered people. And if an election had taken place, the winner of that election ought to have been installed to form a government. That was why the regime could not try Abiola for treason. Because the regime will have to show, the case was going to be used to show that Abiola won the election. And that election was adjudged by international standard to be fair and free. So the regime couldn't afford to have itself exposed for subversion of democracy. Hence, Abiola was simply locked up.
Okay, you're welcome back there. That excerpt there was Femi Falana, S.A.N., one of many modern-day historians of our modern, history. Okay, our guest still in Abuja, Dr. Ken Uba, APC chieftain, member Imo State Council of Elders, political and public affairs analyst, is still with us. Thank you for staying with us, Dr. Uba. And in the Lagos studio here, we have Honorable S.O.B. Agunbiade, immediate past majority leader in the Lagos State House of Assembly. Dr. Uba, since our theme is, Nigeria's emerging political character, the president spoke a bit about what what one could say was relevant in this regard. He said, and I'm paraphrasing him here, that, look, the nature of democracy is that, look, if you can't take a loss with grace, then you hardly deserve, to win. And he was implying that if you lose today, it could be different the next time around. The next time around, the losers could be the winners, and the other way around, winners could indeed have to go queue up for another time. We're talking about Nigeria's emerging political character. This is something where politics without bitterness, perhaps we're getting there in this country, but I imagine that we still have to work on these things, such as the egalitarian nature of politics. We've said that politics is not for the faint of heart, but it doesn't have to be a do-or-die affair. What I'm saying is that this fits in well, I think, with the theme of Nigeria's emerging political character, as Tinubu sort of spoke on, that, look, sometimes you lose and sometimes you win, and that's the nature. And if you can't take one, how can you now come around and say you want the other? So it's an evolution, I imagine, of our political nature as a country. Are you optimistic that we'll go far with this?
Quite optimistic. Like I told you, Nigeria is work in progress. And the beauty of democracy is tolerance. And the process of also approaching the courts instead of taking up arms. So it's all part of democracy, an intrinsic part of democracy. And if you don't win today, like you said, Larry, you can win tomorrow. It's not a do-or-die affair. That is why one of my mentors in politics, a man I used to admire so much, was the great Waziri Ibrahim of GMPP, if you remember. He was the political intrigues. He left PDP and formed GMPP. And his slogan was, politics without bitterness. Nigerians shouldn't forget that man in a hurry, because he entrenched this particular slogan into our system. And that is what democracy is all about. Politics without bitterness. Nobody should shed blood because of politics. It's not worth it. And if you really want to serve, if service is your reason for entering into politics, you don't need to kill anybody. You don't need to maim anybody. You don't need to create any violence or insecurity. If you don't believe in the result, like the president also said, you approach the courts. And while you approach the courts, while the case is going on, you don't have to foment any trouble. You wait for the case to end. And whichever way the case ends, you take it. We should also trust our judiciary, trust our judges. They may not be very perfect, but they are doing a good job. And it's part of the process of democracy. So I believe in that so much, and that is the way forward in Nigeria, like it's practiced in other civilized climes. There is no two way about it. We don't have to create any problem, foment any problem, because if there is no peace, even that your mandate you want to actualize, you can't actualize it. So what is the point? So that's my submission on that, Larry.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Dr. Uba. Honorable S.O.B. Agombiade, I'm happy that Dr. Uba remembered that great Nigerian, Alhaji Waziri, of the GNPP, Great Nigeria People's Party. Earlier, when people didn't even know the import of what he was saying, politics without bitterness was his catchphrase.
Yes.
And that seems to be, there's a way in which you could look at it and say, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, is alluding to those kind of notions, especially when he says, look, if you win today, it might not be the same next time. If you didn't win today, it might not be the same next time. People just have to take these matters as Democrats. It's only when you're not a Democrat that is when you refuse to say, no, I no go giri, I no go giri. Hopefully we'll move to a level beyond Anogogiri.
That's why a philosopher says, a winner does not quit, and a quitter does not win. If you try and fail, try and try and try again, you may win. At least President Muhammadu Buhari, immediate past president of Nigeria, did not win the presidency at his first trial. He tried 1, 2, 3 times or so before he became the president of Nigeria. If he had given up, he wouldn't have reaped the fruit of that effort of his. So we should learn to accept things as they come. If we are convinced that we have given in our best in the circumstance, it means that there are some other prevailing circumstances beyond our effort. And if you put the same, we're not even putting as much as that effort that failed next, and we will win. So I want to believe that we shouldn't make it a do or die affair. We should leave things the way they are after we have done everything humanly possible, but we do not get it. The Nigeria is too precious for anybody, is too precious to be allowed to disintegrate upon somebody's failure or feelings. And that is why I used to say that any electoral process, no matter how important it is, does not deserve a pint of a toddler's blood.
Even a drop.
Not to talk of an established person, an adult.
Indeed.
So why shedding blood?
Thank you very much.
Why violence if we believe in what we are doing is for service to the people?
All right. Let me quickly touch base with Dr. Ken Uba. Finally, Dr. Uba in our Abuja studio, and briefly, please, do you believe that for Nigerians, the time has come that all other things being equal, President Tinubu has been harping on democracy, has been harping on nobody will be muscled, everybody will, will be able to express their fundamental right. Do you believe that with Tinubu's coming and him being our president and commander-in-chief now, there are brighter democratic days ahead? In closing.
I strongly believe that Folari, our president has said it over and over, that he is a true Democrat. And his antecedents have proven it. He's a man who believes in rule of law. And he said he was going to lead according to the rule of law. So he's been very emphatic on this. And if you watch his life or his political career, he has never raised a hand or a fist on anybody, or try to kill anybody for any reason whatsoever. He's a pure Democrat, he's a true Democrat, and I believe strongly that he's going to lead this country aright and take us to the next level. Leadership is a continuum, and other people can take over after his own tenure and continue from the foundation he lays. And I believe strongly that he's going to lead us in a purely democratic way. There is no doubt about that. Because the man's antecedents is who he is. That is it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ken Uba, member of the Imo State Council of Elders, political and public affairs analyst, and APC chieftain. I don't know why P came into my mouth. APC chieftain. Thank you very much, Dr. Uba. Appreciate your time with us this morning.
Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to have been here in your studio in Abuja. Thank you very much.
Pleasure's ours. And so, Honorable SOB, on that theme of the emerging political character of Nigeria and Nigerians, you're optimistic that these are different times and it can only be better going forward?
I am very briefly. I'm very optimistic because the man at the helms of affairs in Nigeria today, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a man that believes strongly in intellectual warfare.
Okay.
Intellectual warfare. He believes using the brain and not the fist and not weapons in fighting any political struggle. He has demonstrated that during Adeko time and the rest of it. despite provocations and the rest of it, they fought the war, they pursued the struggle systematically, that at the end of the day, we are proud of the outcome.
Okay.
So Nigerians should learn that if this last election had gone the way it has gone, no bloodshed on a large scale, at least we can always manage our differences.
Indeed. We're going to have
Always
to
manage
leave
our
it here now.
without shedding blood.
Exactly.
Without crying, without killing ourselves, without violence.
Indeed.
We can always manage
Politics
our
without
that is
bitterness.
democratic. That is
Indeed. It
democracy.
just took us back to the
Yes.
back to down memory line and the great
Going forward, we have learned our lessons.
Indeed.
And will continue to grow by the tenets of democracy
Okay.
year in, year out.
So that's it then. I want to thank you very much, Honorable S.O.B. Agunbiade, immediate past majority leader in the Lagos State House of Assembly. Appreciate you for making time for us this morning on this, important day, Nigeria's Democracy Day. Thank you very much. Okay. Our colleagues in Abuja are standing by to take over, but we will do the news. So I'll just say join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folare. Till then,